the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m, only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. Let's do these front pages and breaking right now.
The NHS, we have an initiative called GIRFT, Get It Right First Time. That should be our New Year's resolution for 2026.
So West Streeting said today that Labour's New Year's resolution should be to stop U-turning. What happened? Just moments later, Sir Keir Starmer performed his 13th U-turn and abandoned his flagship compulsory digital ID scheme less than 6 months after announcing it. It's on the Times front page. And help is on the way, dear!
Mrs. Doubtfire!
Help is on the way! Well, that's how we've chosen to illustrate the story about President Trump potentially bombing Iran. President Trump has said to the Iranians, help is on the way. It's on the front of several different national newspapers. I've got a line for you on this. This happened in the last few minutes. President Trump has done an interview in which he has apparently said that maybe the red line for them will be if they start hanging protesters. What's due to happen tomorrow? They're going to
Iran this morning that help is on the way for protesters. What did you mean by that? What kind of help?
You're going to have to figure that one out. I'm sorry.
Yep, so the world is waiting with bated breath over whether that Trump administration will indeed bomb Iran. Will it happen tonight? In other news. Well, some pints are getting even more expensive and others are getting weaker, and it's all because of what the Sun has called the In Reaper. This is it. So Rachel Reeves knew that 5,000 pubs would be hit as a result of her budget, and she went ahead and she did it anyway. And
fly the moon for Christmas. Oh, I can't wait for GP spaces.
I believe that was a Christmas hit from a couple of years ago. That was it Keir Starmer, the Granny Harmer, I think? And the reason why we've done that is because the total number of pensioners living in poverty is set to surpass 2 million people. That's according to campaigners. Devastating stuff. And finally,
it is British to be diverse. The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse.
Well, on that note, a British police force is holding a meeting in a week's time that is exclusively just for one ethnic minority group. Remarkable, that. So, I'm sorry, but I think that is a little bit racist. The other big story, of course, that we're going to be covering is this Chinese super embassy. The Chinese, they're happy about it. The Americans certainly aren't, and neither should you be. All of that coming your way. Loads to go out tonight, and joining us to do it is journalist and broadcasting royalty Christo Fufas, political commentator Jonathan Liss, and GB News contributor and star comedian Paul the Fox Cox. But first, let's get those latest headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Never been said.
Good evening to you. 3 minutes past 11. The headlines from the GB newsroom. Donald Trump's told Iranians help is on the way and has urged them to continue demonstrating despite a deadly government crackdown. The US president says regime officials will pay a big price, and he condemned what he's called senseless killings. Thousands of demonstrators are feared dead, although an internet blackout means the true scale of the bloodshed is unknown. Mr. Trump has hinted direct military intervention could be imminent, telling broadcasters the US will take very strong action if the Iranian government starts hanging protesters. But he didn't elaborate on what those actions would be. GB News understands Sir Keir Starmer has abandoned plans to make digital ID compulsory for workers. Instead, when they are introduced at the end of this Parliament in 2029, the right to work checks will still be mandatory, but other forms of documentation, such as an electronic visa or passport, will be valid. The Conservatives say it would have done nothing to fix migration, and another U-turn illustrates a party with no direction. A number of Labour MPs have joined the Conservatives in condemning plans to allow the Chinese to build a new super embassy in London. Shadow Home Office Minister Alicia Cairns says the Chinese could use the building as a launch pad for economic warfare against our nation, after reports it will include a hidden chamber located near cables carrying data for city banks. It's reported planning permission could be approved next week ahead of the Prime Minister's upcoming trip to China. The government, though, says no decision has yet been taken. Sir Keir Starmer is understood to be considering joining President Trump's Board of Peace that will temporarily run Gaza. A panel of world leaders to be chaired by Mr Trump will discuss Hamas disarmament, and they'll work on its reconstruction, Gaza that is, and the future governance as part of the US deal. The US-led 20-point peace plan to end the war. However, Number 10 told GB News to treat the reports with caution, adding that no formal invitation to join the board has been received and a decision hasn't been made. And an investigation has been launched into South East Water as thousands of households in Kent and East Sussex remain cut off for a fourth day. The company is handing out bottles at water stations like this one in East Grinstead, blaming the impact of Storm Goretti and a power cut at its pumping plant. They say they hope to restore services by Tuesday or Wednesday. Its bosses have asked for an extra £300 million worth of funding to help improve its services. They will be recalled to Parliament for a second round of questioning by MPs. And ministers are set to revive the cancelled Birmingham to Manchester leg of HS2 as part of a major new rail plan for the north. Labour will announce a reboot of Northern Powerhouse Rail, with a new high-speed link promised once east to west lines are delivered. Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak scrapped the original route under the Conservative government. And those are your latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back. Let's get you right up to date with Wednesday's newspaper front pages. The Metro goes with Russian captain did nothing to avoid US tanker. So this is the story about the tanker disaster that happened a couple of years ago. I think it was a year or so ago. It's gone to court anyway. They've got the update. The Independent, help is on the way. Now, this is President Trump on Iran, and he has told the Iranians that help is on the way. Shortly, I'm going to be playing you some footage that we believe is from Tehran tonight. The protesters are out on the streets. I have got another little bit of a breaking update for you, and this is coming from a couple of White House correspondents based in the States. They say that President Trump was due to do an engagement this evening. He's cancelled that engagement and apparently told the press to go away and is currently in the Oval Office. The assumption there is that he's being briefed about Iran and is currently making a decision on Iran. We'll bring it to you as we get it. The iPaper, Labour promises new rail links for the north, but not until the 2030s, by which time, of course, they might not be in power. Has this got all the kind of déjà vu elements of HS2? The Guardian, Help is on the way. Trump calls on Iran's protesters to remain defiant. Just on that, another line that I've got for you is that apparently President Trump has done an interview with CBS in America in the last few moments, during which he appeared to indicate that a red line for the US regime might be if Iran starts hanging protesters. And as you're about to see on the front of some other national newspapers, they're carrying the picture of a man who is apparently due to be hung tomorrow morning in Iran. So if that happens, is that going to be the signal for Trump to go in? The Times. New Starmer U-turn over compulsory digital IDs. Huge story, this on many levels. It's a victory for people who are against digital ID, obviously, and in the round, a good thing. However, it is that other U-turn, the 13th and counting of Sir Keir Starmer's tenure. Is it incompetence? How much longer can this go on? And in terms of that picture that I was just mentioning to you earlier on, there he is on the front of the Times. That is Irfan Soltani, who is set to be executed by Iran's regime tomorrow. And so if that happens, is that the signal for Trump to do something about it? The Daily Telegraph, Trump, help is on the way. Again, you can see the theme there. They've also got the story that America has now intervened in the Chinese super embassy plan for here in Britain. The White House is deeply concerned about the secret Chinese embassy. They appear to now be against it because of its proximity to all of the sensitive cables and obviously Chinese spying. The Sun, they've definitely won it again when it comes to the, I suppose, most comical headline in a way, if you just take it as a pun. Not comical, of course, in terms of the actual detail of it. They're calling Rachel Reeves the Inn Reaper. A pun, of course, on the Grim Reaper, for those in the cheap seats at the back. Guinness is up by 4p a pint. Some tipples are going to be made weaker, so you'll get less bang for your buck when it comes to booze. And also, Rachel Reeves apparently knew that 5,000 pubs were going to be hit by her increases in business rates, etc., that we've seen in the budget. And, of course, she did it anyway. The Daily Express, apparently elderly people living in poverty will exceed 2 million in the coming years. This is absolutely devastating, clearly, for a lot of people who are now, sadly, of an age where they are now beyond the choice where they can just go and get a job. You know, these are people who can't do anything about the financial position that they find themselves in, and OAPs are taking drastic measures to make ends meet, including skipping meals, taking fewer baths and showers, as well as cutting their electricity use, and that is according to research by Age UK. If we go to the Mirror now, the rail deal. So this is that rail story again. Greater Rail Connection at a cost of £45 billion, yes, billion pounds for new lines and infrastructure for the North. Look, I'm not against it. The North needs to be better connected. It takes a ridiculous amount of time to get from places like Hull to Manchester. You need to unlock the North, but it's the cost of it, it's the infrastructure planning. Will it be held up again by something like a bat tunnel, like we had with HS2? Let's get stuck straight into it with the panel, and let's bring up the Times' front page, because that is the big story that most directly affects us here in Britain, and it's that U-turn on digital ID. Let me just remind you of when Sir Keir Starmer announced his plans for a mandatory digital ID for all of us here in Britain.
I'm announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them.
It was hugely unpopular. He copped a load of flack for it. His MPs copped a load of flack for it on the doorstep. People were campaigning against it, but they stuck with it and they stuck with it and they stuck with it, despite all of the obvious pitfalls. Then earlier today, Wes Streeting came out and he said that the government needs to stop U-turning.
In the NHS, we have an initiative called GIRFT, Get It Right First Time. That should be our New Year's resolution for 2026.
Get it right first time, stop U-turning. So then what happens? Bring up the front page of the Times. New Starmer U-turn over compulsory digital IDs. Christy, I'll come to you first on this. Your thoughts?
Do you know what? I was just thinking that we're looking at the Braille story, right? I know you're talking about digital ID, and I thought, God, that's a good idea. That won't happen because they'll U-turn. Let's look at what they're going to think about Iran. Oh, I don't know, because they're going to change their mind. And so every single thing that they do now, we do not believe a word of it, because another U-turn. And now they're saying, well, actually, the digital ID could be optional. You can use other forms of ID. So if that's the case, then why do we need digital ID? They're now going to bring it in at the cost of billions for something that they now say we don't need anyway. It's just so incompetent. It's beyond belief.
One of the excuses, Paul, that they said initially that was the reason why they wanted to bring it in and the reason why we needed it was because they said it was the only way to tackle illegal immigration and illegal working. So that when you book a Deliveroo order and it says that Jennifer's about to drop it off and actually Mustafa turns up, that this would stop that. But it turns out now that we don't need it at all, do we?
No, I mean, it's getting ridiculous now. It's a metaphor, isn't it? It's like U-bend politics, this, not U-turn politics. The policies drop into the pan and then we just wait for them to be flushed through the U-bend, and if we're lucky, they don't come back. It's got utterly ridiculous now. If you're not going to make digital ID compulsory, then don't have digital ID. As far as I'm concerned, no one wanted digital ID anyway. I'm not sure where these great decent, right-minded groups of decent, right-minded people are. But I don't remember anyone ever calling for this, really. And if you're not going to make it compulsory, then there's no point in having it anyway. And, of course, he was on a losing footing, and now he's just a politician that has no conviction whatsoever. When he goes, and it's obviously inevitable that he's going to go, the only thing he's going to be remembered for is absolutely tanking the UK within about 12 to 18 months and not achieving anything of any value. It's astonishing.
When he leaves Downing Street, eventually, they're going to have to actually escort him because he'll change his mind 3 steps out. He'll go, actually, no, I'm going to U-turn. I'm going back in. I'm going back in.
Jonathan, I'm going to read to you now a tweet from Sir Keir Starmer, and this tweet reads: Boris Johnson and his government has lurched from crisis to crisis and U-turn to U-turn. To correct one error, even 2 might make sense. But when they've notched up 12 U-turns and rising, the only conclusion is serial incompetence. This is Sir Keir Starmer's 13th U-turn.
Yeah, it's a directionless government in many ways. I think it's important to note that the things that they are U-turning on are not things that were in the manifesto. These are things that have been come up with seemingly at random. A lot of them don't seem to make a lot of sense. And one thing I would say to Christo is that the rail thing is actually probably one of the few policies that won't be U-turned on because it's popular. It's popular with the people, it's popular with the Labour backbenchers. The problem with these policies that they've just kind of announced out of nowhere, such as the digital ID one, such as the jury trial, which I think will probably also have a climb down of sorts, is that nobody in the Labour Party has asked for them. They're not popular with the backbenchers. And what you have is you have so many of the backbenchers that have seen that they can actually topple government policies when they want to, when there's a decent enough number of them, and the government is so weak that it can't afford to see those rebellions, they actually backtrack before they're actually defeated.
But has there ever been a time in history where you have a government that has such a massive majority that is incompetent and impotent, just powerless? So even though they've got all of these MPs, they can't do anything.
They're not impotent. They are powerful enough to do things that the Labour Party wants them to do, which they've been elected to do. For that, they have a lot of power. They're not sufficiently powerful. They can introduce random policies on the fly and expect them to
govern.
To do things that no one asked for in the Labour Party.
But to your point, Paul, this is having real-world consequences. We're going to come on to something in a second, actually, about property prices, but this will affect a lot of people. Property prices are going down. Everyone's gearing up for a property market crash at the moment. This kind of rudderless leadership, where you're seeing people implementing something that's crippling businesses and then U-turning on it, farmers then U-turning on it, this now with digital IDs U-turning on it, what it does, it chips away at confidence in the UK, and we are all paying the price for this weapons-grade incompetence.
We are, absolutely, and it's getting to the point now where Donald Trump could literally come and save us. I know that. I know. It's true, Jonathan, though, isn't it? We are waiting to be saved. Every single one.
You may be, mate. I'm certainly not.
You know you want a big cuddle with Trump.
No, I don't.
You do.
No, I don't.
Okay. So one thing that's clear is they never think it through. It's like somebody sits down and comes up with the idea, and then they never think it through. Just take the pubs, for instance. They never actually put the rates up on pubs, really. What they did is they said the rates were going to go up against the rateable value, and then they revalued the pubs. But they said they didn't have any idea how much of an impact that would be. So they didn't have any idea that if you market valued a property now that hadn't been market valued for 10 years, that it was going to go up, the rates were going to go up associated associated to it, and it was just going to blow the pub market and the hospitality market off the planet. I'm stupid, and I figured that out in 3 minutes. As soon as I saw it, I figured it out, and they just cannot figure it out. To me, as much as I want to joke and laugh about this, it's madness. There are people at home tonight sitting there, hello, thank you for watching, who just are despairing and feeling incredibly sad.
Just to give you the absolute detail on what is happening. So it's a U-turn on compulsory digital IDs that you would have needed to get a job in the UK and for all sorts of things. Instead, they're apparently going to have... They're just going to be optional. Optional. Right? Now, what we need to know, and this will emerge in the coming days, is how much is this still going to cost us? How much has already been spent on this plan? The rumoured figure was somewhere around the £2 billion mark. How much of that are we going to recoup now? And apparently Sir Keir Starmer's decided to U-turn on this because of a cabinet revolt. Well, why are we only finding out about this now? You know, if he knew, surely he knew there was going to be a revolt on this. Surely people said there was going to be a revolt on it. And he said they've led people up the garden path only to bring them back down again. I mean, if he can't even keep his own cabinet in check, Christo, he obviously can't run a country. And he talks about being a decent man with morals. Wouldn't the decent thing for him to do be to quit?
Well, yes, but also better the devil you know, because we could end up with someone like David Lammy West Streeting seems to have the brain cell of the cabinet because David Lammy is as thick as two short planks. Angela Rayner is as ideological as the other complete insane people. And, that is what, to your point, that is what this is, by the way. It's ideology over practicality. They put the idea above anything in practice. And then it's the arrogance as well, because they U-turn, but they don't quite fully U-turn. So, they U-turn on the farmers' tax, but they still keep it at a level that's still going to shaft some people. They U-turn on digital ID, but they're still going to keep it.
They get through their policy a little. It's almost like we're not going to hit you as hard anymore. It's like this abuser victim situation now, where they give you a bit of a beating, then they say, "I'm not going to beat you so hard next time," and we're supposed to go, "Thanks very much, sorry about that."
We know it's a terrible idea, but we're still going to keep a bit of the idea to show that, so we don't lose face. It's just moronic.
All right. Well, look. When we come back, we have got some. Well, it's very much a developing story, this, and it involves President Trump. It involves Iran. I'm going to play you this.
Help is on the way, dear! This is Delta! Help is on the way!
That is literally the headline on 3 national newspapers. Trump help is on the way. Now, what I want to tell you is this, which is that in the last few moments, several different US White House correspondents, obviously in the US, have said that President Trump was due to have an engagement this evening with the press. He's cancelled that and he's currently in the Oval Office. The thinking there is that he's being briefed about Iran. There is another line, which I'll bring to you, which appears to indicate what President Trump is thinking in terms of when he's going to attack Iran. So hold fire, for want of a better phrase, for a minute or two, and I will tell you what is going to go on in what could be, frankly, the most seismic news story, really, for a very, very, very long time. That's all coming your way in a sec.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, pub bosses say they face financial ruin after Rachel Reeves' stealth tax raid in the budget. As pint prices are ramped up, opening hours are cut and staff are laid off in desperate attempts to keep running.
So this morning we're asking, would you pay more for your pint to save local pubs?
Well, joining us now is pub owner Mark Bridgen and Communications Officer for the IEA, Reem Ibrahim. Really good to see you both this morning. Mark, let's start with you. We've spoken to you a lot about your lovely pub. Would you want people to pay more for a pint in order to save your business?
Well, it's looking like the only option. Yeah, with the increased taxes on every level and now the stress around rates increase and valuation agency, we're I don't know anyone that is making any money, so it feels like the only thing to do is to raise your prices. The irony is that actually at the moment many of us are actually putting down our prices to try and get people through the doors. You know, in a desperate bid to stay alive, we're having to, you know, try and offer even more value.
Do you think the government is just tone deaf to the plight of our landlords of pubs and restaurants across the country?
They absolutely are. I mean, over 21,000 pubs have closed since 1980. That's, you know, half of that in the last 2 decades alone. So I really do think that the government have taxed, regulated, restricted pubs to the oblivion. But this is where I disagree with Mark. I don't think it's up to businesses themselves to say, you know what, we're going to remove our profit margins even further. We know that the hikes in national insurance contributions and increasing the minimum wage have a huge impact on small businesses.
GBNews, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Yeah, welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight Late Edition. It's on the front of 3 or 4 national newspapers for Wednesday, and it is the Iran story. Let's just remind ourselves of what President Trump has said about this so far.
Iran this morning that help is on the way for protesters. What did you mean by that? What kind of help?
You're going to have to figure that one out. I'm sorry.
Asked about what he might do to Iran and what it means when he says help is on the way. That's the quote on 3 national newspapers. Help is on the way. He said, you're going to have to find that out. Well, in the last few minutes, he's done another interview, this time with the news company CBS. Here's what he said there.
Well, now we're hearing that they're going to start hanging protesters tomorrow. So it comes back to the question, have they crossed your red line or has the line moved?
I haven't heard about the hanging. If they hang them, you're going to see some things that I don't know what where you come from and what your thought process is, but you'll perhaps be very happy.
What do you mean by that?
We will take very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action.
And this strong action you're talking about, what's the end game?
The end game is to win. I like winning.
OK, well, we've got some footage for you now that we believe is of Tehran tonight. I think we might be able to play this for you. It appears that the demonstrators, revolutionaries, I suppose you could call them, are back out on the streets again in a big way. OK, so what you're looking at that again, look, this is what we believe is Tehran tonight. And it appears that there's, as you can see there, I mean, the streets are absolutely full. If we just bring it back here to us in Paddington, and if we bring up... I know that we've just done the Times, but it might be worthwhile just for now, just to bring it up because it's got the picture of this individual who's called Irfan Soltani, who is, as we understand it, due to be executed tomorrow by the Iranian regime. He's someone that's due to be executed. And that ties in directly with what President Trump was saying there, wasn't it, about that question about whether or not they were going to go in. There it is. So that's the picture of the man. I just wanted you to be able to see his face, really. That's the picture of the man who was due to be executed by the Ayatollah tomorrow for protesting. If we go now, if that's OK, to the Daily Telegraph, bring that up. That's the headline, Trump, help is on the way. So the line tonight, Paul, is that Trump is currently in the White House, in the Oval Office. He's cancelled some engagements he was supposed to have. He's being briefed about Iran. Do you think we'll see him go big on Iran maybe in the next few hours?
I have absolutely no idea what Donald Trump's going to do. He could well undertake some sort of military action in Tehran. He's seen what we're all seeing. He's seen that there's this huge uprising that's tilting towards a revolution which could overturn the Islamic Republic. And I think the people of Iran deserve that revolution. They're totally fed up of living under this totalitarian state. It gets very difficult to understand what Donald Trump can actually do to make that change happen in a positive way. Because bombing targets, going in and taking out the Ayatollah, that's not something that's going to leave Iran in any form of stability.
but stopping their citizens from being hung for just opposing the government is something that does need to happen.
Well, how do you do that? Here's the thing. So if there is a plan on the table to use all kinds of diplomatic means to try and stop this poor man from being executed and to help the protesters in some way, then that's something I will support. If it involves a kind of like just a blanket, you know, here's a nail, we have a hammer, just dropping bombs on random targets in Tehran, which is not going to help anybody. And I completely agree with you, Paul. That is not going to... Taking out the Ayatollah would be a catastrophe. Because it's, first of all, what would it actually do, apart from galvanise people? The one thing that will galvanise people in support of the regime, actually, is seeing people being taken out. And the other thing is that you just can't... There are so many awful regimes in the world. The United States can't just bomb them all, right?
Yeah.
You can't just take out people that you don't like. It's illegal to declare war without congressional approval anyway.
I think Iran is a bit of a special case. Also, again, for some context, you know, the figures on this death toll, and we're not playing you the videos for obvious reasons, but the footage coming out of Iran of mounds and mounds and mounds of bodies, some of them appear to have been killed in the most horrific way possible by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' military wing. At some point, they will draw a line. I don't know, Christo, how do you feel about the potential, which appears to be very much edging ever closer by the minute, of President Trump and America doing something in Iran?
I mean, I think that we have to proceed with caution. Had you asked me before this revolution, if we're calling it that, had started, you know, remember when it was Iran and Israel, I was saying, look, we really need to be careful about going in because we've got a track record of going into the Middle East and absolutely screwing things up massively. It has to come from the Iranian people. Well, it has come from the Iranian people. We're not going in and trying to prompt the Iranian people. The Iranian people are doing it. They are revolting as we speak. And they are doing so probably expecting help. So if there was any time for us to go in, or for America to go in, it is now. The problem is, and where I actually agree with you, and it sticks in my throat to say this, is that you need to be very, very careful in these situations to not galvanise and to not give the propaganda win to the Iranian Islamic regime that this is all an American, you know, this has all just been created by America. So there is that to be careful of. Also, the other tightrope that Donald Trump will be on, which is why actually, although I think these poor people need help, it's important that he does it in a considered way, is that Russia are poised here to support Iran and are saying, you know, at the end of this Telegraph article, it gives a quote actually from Moscow saying that any such strikes would have a disastrous consequence for the situation in the Middle East and global security. And so...
Well, they're not wrong, to be fair.
So you've also got Russia prepared to support Iran. They don't need an excuse to do more.
Can I just say that when it's absolutely right that these people are protesting against the Iranian regime, and, you know, I...
12,000 reported dead, by the way.
It's completely horrific, Patrick. I have no truck for the Iranian regime whatsoever. But what those people are not calling for is for the United States to drop bombs on them. And I think that we can conflate things sometimes. Say, if you are sort of protesting against the regime, you must be protesting in favour of the United States dropping bombs. That is not what they are doing.
All right. I think, look, I think whatever happens, if the Ayatollah is decapitated, you know, figuratively or actually, I suppose, you know, it's important that I think what comes next is the decision of the Iranian people, not that there is some kind of like interim US or British government. Just on this as well, very quickly, this is just out from Secretary Marco Rubio. He's the Secretary of State. Today, we are designating the Lebanese, Egyptian and Jordanian chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist groups. Under President Trump's leadership, the United States will eliminate the capabilities and operations of Muslim Brotherhood chapters that threaten US citizens and our national security. Quite interesting that, given the contrast, Keir Starmer will not designate the IRGC as a terrorist group. They are in America. They don't really have any diplomatic relations with Iran in America at all. And now they're going after the Muslim Brotherhood as well. This kind of global attempt at what the Americans would say is a clean-up operation is happening, and it links to a story that you're also seeing on your screens right now, which we'll talk about when we come back. The White House is deeply concerned about secret Chinese embassy plans. It's secret plans for 208 underground bunker rooms, basically, underneath the Chinese embassy, mega embassy in London, some of which is over our fibre optic cables. Why are we letting them do it? But there is also, of course, this story, which we'll be tackling in just a minute. Did he split the G there? Anyway, pubs are in more trouble. The Sun's front page is an absolute corker. The In Reaper they've gone for there. Rachel Reeves knew that 5,000 pubs would be hit by the rates change. She went ahead, she did it anyway. And also, Christo, our panellist, will be revealing something too. No, not that.
Thank God.
Hello, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast, coming to you from the Met Office. As today's rain clears away, we're going to have a chilly night because of largely clear skies. We're dragging in colder air from the northwest now, and that's why, with those clear skies, we're really going to see temperatures plummeting overnight. Most places will be dry, just a bit of cloud, a little bit of rain clinging on, lingering in parts of the far southeast, and a fair few showers, which could be a wintry mix, some sleet, some snow mixed in across parts of Scotland. As I mentioned, it's turning chilly though, temperatures widely dropping to around, if not a little bit below freezing, so plenty of frost around. There could be some pockets of mist and fog, freezing fog across some parts of the south, and do watch out for some icy stretches as well. With these showers coming in, falling on frozen surfaces, well, it is going to lead to some pretty slippery surfaces. As we go through tomorrow morning then, a bright start to the day for many, just the cloudy, showery picture across western Scotland and a bit of cloud building across western Northern Ireland. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine. Just worth noting, any fog or freezing fog that does develop across those southern areas could take a little while to clear. Then, as we go through the day, the sunshine is going to get a bit weaker. The clouds going to build for many places, particularly across the far south, where we'll have cloud thickening and some outbreaks of rain pushing in, but also across western parts of Scotland and also Northern Ireland as a band pushes in as well. Temperatures will be markedly lower than today, most places only getting maxima in the mid-single figures Celsius. Then, as we go into Thursday, potential for some very wet and windy weather to sweep up from the south, particularly affecting England, but perhaps Wales as well. Some uncertainty about the position and intensity of this. Further north, staying with a mixture of bright sunny spells, but also some wintry showers. A mixed picture then as we go through the end of the week and into the weekend, staying a bit colder towards the north. Bye-bye.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. Let's cycle through a couple more national newspapers for Wednesday, starting with The Sun. I think because they've got the kind of more comical aspects on this. They're calling Rachel Reeves the In Reaper in The Sun, and that's because they are saying that Guinness is going up by 4%, but also that some tipples are getting weaker, and that Rachel Reeves knew that 5,000 pubs would be hit by her rates increase, and then pressed ahead and did it anyway. The budget tax grab fallout. The other one that is on, of course, if we bring up the other national newspaper that is on, is The Times front page, which they go, Treasury knew business rates would double for thousands of pubs. Just stay on The Sun, why not? It's the best headline. Stay on... OK, fair enough. OK, fine. But then if we bring The Sun back up... it looks like they were going to do it. They were going to do it anyway, despite the fact they were getting dire warnings. Paul, what do you make of what we're seeing here? The In Reaper is the new nickname for Rachel Reeves on The Sun.
It's been, and I don't want to understate this in any way, it's been an unmitigated disaster for the hospitality industry, particularly the pubs. The way that they've gone about this, where they've not thought any further than step one or step two. Like I said earlier, the re-evaluation of the properties in which hospitality takes place is massive, because that's the value of that property is how your business rates are calculated. And if everybody knows that the housing market's gone through the roof in the last 5 or 10 years, so of course the rates have gone through the roof. That, alongside national insurance contributions for employers, and a rise in the minimum wage, and duty on draft and non-draft drinks, all at the same time, has meant, and we've seen people on this channel, not just anecdotally, people call into this channel, do some down the lines and say, I live in my pub, I haven't paid myself for 6 months.
Yeah.
I don't make any money. I can pay my staff, I can live in the room above the pub, but I don't make any money. And they would have made money before these changes.
Exactly. Now, one of the things that you were alluding to before was incompetence, and that's obviously fair enough. I mean, there's unquestionably a bit of that. However, what I will say, if we look at some of the detail on this now, is more than 5,000 pubs have had their business rates doubled, and the Treasury was kept informed about the scale of the increases before the budget. That is the new line here, that the Treasury knew about it, which Christo now takes it away from the realms of incompetence and makes it deliberate.
Well, do they hate the pub industry? Do they hate this country? It's really difficult not to think that they do, and I know that might sound dramatic, but why are they making decisions? Governing is basically decisions and consequences. They know the consequences. They're being told the consequences. They're seeing unemployment figures go up. Unemployment is going up at a rate that we've not seen since COVID. Why is that? Because no one's hiring anyone. No one's hiring young people, the jobs that you would normally get in hospitality, because these are the consequences of their actions. And they know it. I can't get my head around it.
Just one I've got you before we go to Jonathan, sorry. There is another story here that kind of ties in, because it's an economy, state of the economy, property market story that affects you. And you posted this on social media early today. What is it?
Well, I had a call with my accountant today because I own a buy-to-let flat, which is in my own name. And he basically said to me, and we went through the figures, and he was like, just you've got to sell it. What are you doing? Because at the end of every year, my tax bill, based on the rent coming in and the fact I don't get mortgage relief and the repairs that need to be done, it makes it that I'm not making any money. And with the renters' rights bill coming in and the lack of flexibility with it, I put a tweet out earlier saying, look, you know, I just had what was it? Can you read that? Basically, it was saying that I had a pretty depressing call with my accountant.
You can't keep your tenants in, even though you love them, basically, because it doesn't make financial sense.
And so it's a couple that are absolutely lovely, but it makes no financial sense to keep them anymore. And with the lack of flexibility coming in, and it's not just Labour, by the way, the Tories sort of set this in motion, and Labour are now just finishing it all off. Don't they understand that that's going to mean that two people who are actually really lovely aren't going to have anywhere to live, and they're going to be back out in the rental market? And don't they see that actually 25% of properties that are on the market in London today are rental properties that landlords are selling? This is putting rents up. Why don't they understand these consequences?
OK, well, I think we need to get a little bit of the counter side to this from Jonathan just before we go stateside to Bev Turner. A couple of stories, obviously the pubs, but also the impact they're having on the wider economy.
Well, in terms of the pubs, look, I don't know what goes on in the Treasury. You would hope that there would be some joined-up thinking government, but in governments of all stripes, they do different things to their left hand and their right hand. We've seen that for years. And clearly there wasn't sufficient consultation about what these changes were going to entail. I can't really see why the government would deliberately set out to clobber the hospitality industry and pubs in particular. I don't see in sort of the 5D chess how... So, why don't we shaft...
Do you think it's because they don't like pub owners?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. Look, they know
chains.
They can get easy wins in newspapers like The Sun by doing things that are good for pubs, good for people who go to pubs. That's like one of the target demographics. It makes no sense then to anger these people. What I think it is just cock-up rather conspiracy. And there's been an awful lot of that. In terms of what Christo says, can understand that, you have your own position as a landlord, and I understand that position. Governments have to make choices and they have to have priorities. Okay. And what they have seen, and this is that people who tenants were having a really raw deal and they want to improve things.
All right, we'll just park that there for a second because I do want to go to Bev Turner now, who's joining us from Washington, D.C. for The Late Show Live, which will be live from midnight. Bev, thank you very much. What's coming up?
What's coming up, Patrick, is a lot of news out of America. I mean, two of the main stories on the front page of The Telegraph for tomorrow are big American stories. We've got the situation in Iran. I've got Jason Miller is going to be in the studio with me at the top. And now he's a key advisor to the president, and we're going to be talking to him about what is going to happen. When, if, would President Trump take more action against Iran? We're going to show you a bit more of the interview that I did with Sarah Rogers. I know GBNews has been playing bits of it all day on the TV, which is very nice. She's a very outspoken woman. We've cut that interview in half. You get the second half of it tonight, and a lot of stuff that she's saying I know that our viewers will absolutely relate to and feel strongly about. Also in America today, the Clintons refusing to give evidence over Epstein, and there was everybody trying to paint this as a problem for the Republican Party. There have always been whispers in this city that the Epstein files are much more of a problem for the Democrats than they are the Republicans, and sure enough, Hillary and Bill Clinton saying, no, we're not going to tell you what we know, we're just refusing to do so. So why would they do that? We've got Stephen Edgington on our panel tonight. Now, some of you that watch the GBNews content online will be very familiar with Stephen Edgington. He does these brilliant long-form documentaries for the GBNews website, particularly on YouTube. You can have a look at those, and he's done one about the death of Charlie Kirk and actually the reaction after online about who might have killed Charlie Kirk, speculation. So Stephen's going to be with me tonight as well. And Trump has been talking about the economy in the US today, and we'll be looking at, is it the economy here as strong as he says it is?
Great stuff. Bev, look, that's going to be absolutely box office. Thank you very much. Look forward to it. Bev Turner there, stateside with The Late Show Live, midnight until 2 a.m. When we come back in just a moment's time, it's the latest in the ongoing saga of the Chinese mega embassy. Is Comrade Keir working for Britain or Beijing?
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. If you're heading away for some winter sun, there's plenty of sunny weather across the Mediterranean, into Spain and Portugal, some wet weather through the rest of this week, but plenty of sunshine for parts of the Mediterranean, particularly into Greece. A risk of showers for Italy, parts of Croatia as well through this week, but it's Spain and Portugal that's seeing the particularly wet weather through the rest of this week. Slightly fresher feel for the Canary Islands on Wednesday, but it does look like temperatures come up more closer to those 19-20 degrees by the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health, Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
All right, welcome back to my wonderful audience and indeed my wonderful panel. Let's get stuck into what's going on in the Daily Telegraph's bottom strip, as it were, here. They say the White House is deeply concerned about the secret China embassy plans. That was the news today, that the plans, the unredacted plans for the Chinese super embassy were drawn up. And shock horror, Paul, it looks like a Chinese spy playground.
It doesn't. It does, doesn't it? By the way, the Telegraph have exclusive after exclusive after exclusive that is going to bring this particular government down. And we owe them a debt of gratitude. They managed to get hold of unredacted drawings of this Chinese embassy, which I'm not even sure is something that Keir Starmer's cabinet has seen. Now, we keep flirting between this line of incompetence and malevolence. This, to me, feels ideological. Jonathan's laughing at me. Jonathan's loving this. He's obviously been shown around the plans, and he's going. He's going to get a new flat in the basement.
Me, yeah.
But to me, it seems treasonous. Treasonous. We should put Keir Starmer in the tower, and we should all go and do it now. Jonathan, you know how to get in. Let's go and get him.
How do I know how to get in?
You just know it's the lefty thing, and you're all in a WhatsApp group. You go around the back, you stroke the cat.
I love
this.
Well, go on, is it treasonous and should he be sent to the tower?
No, of course it's not treasonous, Patrick. That is, you know, he's the definition of treason, I think, is trying to kill the king. I don't think he's trying to do that. So look, as I said in the show earlier, I'm not a security expert. I agree. Based on the evidence that we have, it seems like a very, very curious decision to award China this embassy, and the government hasn't awarded China this embassy yet, it should be pointed out. What I would say is that it is inconceivable that MI6 and MI5 wouldn't give the government advice on this topic. And what I also think is inconceivable is that were they to give advice that this should not be granted, there is absolutely no way the Prime Minister would overrule that. No way.
You have just heard tonight story after story after story of this government being told consequences of decisions that they have made that they have ignored. So why do you suddenly have such faith that when it comes to someone like MI6 or MI5 that they would then have the humility to say, actually, we might be wrong?
Absolutely no chance that on an issue of grave national security, the Prime Minister would overrule MI6 and MI5. Just zero chance.
But he doesn't listen to anyone.
I'm sorry,
Well,
I disagree with him on many things, and I criticise him on many things. I do not believe that he's cabinet.
We've got the stage. We've got the plans. I want to bring them to you. So I believe these are the redacted plans. These are the redacted plans that people saw. So now we understand that this is what was sent to the local council about it, and what we think the Labour government saw. As you can see, everything in black, redacted. Here are the unredacted plans, which we've got for you. There you go. And so what you can see is that there are 208 underground bunker rooms. One of them, of course, is a little small room which lies just over the top of fibre optic cables, which have all the communications between the City of London and Canary Wharf, which is one of the leading financial districts in the world, as well as internet cables, which means that people's emails travel along there. all the time, so they can have access to millions of people's emails. It's not clear, Paul, this is what you were saying as well, if the Labour government even ever saw that before he goes and approves these and he goes and licks Beijing's boots next week.
And I genuinely believe there is an ideological bent towards China from this part of the Labour Party. I know Jonathan doesn't, and maybe, Jonathan, you don't want to believe it.
No,
because...
honestly, I criticise them on so many things. I do not believe that they are these rabid Sinophiles. Absolutely no way.
But it feels
the Conservatives used to be, by the way. David Cameron was.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Anyway, yeah.
Yes, that is true also. But this is the uni party. You just happen to be on... Not you, sorry, Jonathan, this is not your party. It just happens to be the red side of the uni party.
Yeah.
For me, I just cannot see any rational thinking behind... Why would you do it? Why would you do it this close? How can the Telegraph unearth so much detail that is so terrifying, and Keir Starmer still carry on as if it's not an issue?
And Trump's in the line tonight, obviously, is that the White House is concerned.
Well, I'm not surprised with 208 secret bunkers underneath. And what does the 208th give you that the 207th doesn't? It's unbelievable. Like, you're right, torture chambers, areas where they can try and hack into what we're doing with all of this cable. Why is a body like China being able to do this? I am not surprised that the White House is deeply concerned. Is that not enough for you, Jonathan? Is the fact the White House is concerned about this not enough for you? Does it have to be MI5 or MI6?
Chris, so I happen to believe that, you know, and I'm surprised that you are sort of gainsaying MI6 and MI5. I'm just saying I'm not a security expert. MI6
and we don't know that they've not.
Well, then we will find this out.
We will find this out. OK, let's give you that recap then of Wednesday's newspaper front pages, starting with the Metro. Russian captain did nothing to avoid a US tanker. That is a disaster that happened a little while ago. He's gone to court, basically. The iPaper. Labour promises new rail links for the north, but it's not until the 2030s. The Daily Express. Elderly living in poverty could exceed 2 million. That's a devastating story. The Daily Mirror. The rail deal. This is Keir Starmer's rail plan. It's going to cost £45 billion, new lines and infrastructure. The Independent, help is on the way, is what Trump said to the Iranian people. The Guardian, again, help is on the way. Trump calls on Iran's protesters to remain defiant. The Sun, the In Reaper they go. Rachel Reeves knew about the 5,000 posts being clobbered and carried on and did it anyway. The Times, new Starmer U-turn over compulsory digital IDs. And the Daily Telegraph, Trump, again, help is on the way. Thank you to our wonderful panel. Thank you to everyone who's watched and listened. I'll throw you over now to Bev Turner, stateside, for the Late Show Live.
Thank you, Patrick. Well, I will find out
everyone. Thank you very
Trump
much.
is on the way to help the Iranian people. I'm going to have Jason Miller in the studio any minute now. And also that Chinese embassy. How worried are the White House about that? How worried are they also about the BBC and that legal case against them over the dodgy edits? That and digital ID. Don't go anywhere.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Very good evening. This is The Late Show Live. Live, of course, from Washington, D.C. on GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America.
I haven't heard about the hanging. If they hang them, you're going to see some things that I don't know what where you come from and what your thought process is, but you'll perhaps be very happy.
Huge story breaking tonight. America has urged the citizens of Iran to leave immediately. Does this mean that President Trump is about to launch strikes in the Middle East? He said help is on the way as the death toll surpasses 2,000. Also tonight on The Late Show Live, remember this.
I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament.
Oh, hang on a minute. What's that sound?
Not another one?
The screeching brakes of Labour's 13th U-turn, this time on digital ID. In September, the Prime Minister said it would be mandatory, but tonight we understand that it has been scrapped. At least that's what they want you to think. We've got our political editor, Christopher Hope, with all the inside information, and I've spoken to the main man, the architect of the campaign against digital ID, Alan Miller, also tonight. What's your worry about the next generation in terms of censorship? Because the phrase, "you can't say that," is incredibly commonplace now amongst teenagers.
What role should the parent play? I mean, the parent should play the lead role, not the government.
Part 2 of my interview with the brilliant Sarah Rogers from the Trump State Department. We spoke about how we protect children online and a huge trans story coming out of the Supreme Court today here in DC. Also this.
Gonna spend it like no other.
After pop star Zara Larsson slammed President Trump, the White House has responded in the best way it knows how, by using her music to advertise what they're doing. I'm Bev Turner. This
is The Late Show Live. Let's get started. Before we get to Donald Trump's former senior advisor, Jason Miller, on that Iran latest, just to be clear, the grammar used there, it's Americans have been told to evacuate Iran, with the president saying that help is on its way. So we've got all sorts of domestic matters and international to manage here tonight. But GB News understands that the government has performed its 13th U-turn and will row back on its plans to make it mandatory to have this digital ID to get a job. In September, Sir Keir Starmer said this.
I'm announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them.
Well done, everybody. Well done, everybody that managed to get that turned around. I spoke to Alan Miller, and I'm going to be showing you that interview a little later in the show. But it seems now, apparently, providing a passport or an e-visa is going to suffice when you're applying for a job up to 2029. And just a few hours ago, the Prime Minister's Migration Minister, Mike Tapp, was asked about this as the story broke.
A lot being discussed behind the scenes, but I'm very clear on this. There will be mandatory digital checks for work.
Well, moments ago, I caught up with GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope, who explained the situation as well as any of us can possibly understand it. Christopher Hope, well, it feels like cause for celebration today for those of us who were saying that digital ID was a bad idea. Is this actually a U-turn as far as your political perspective goes, or is it just a marketing change for this project?
Well, Bev, here in Westminster, it's been called the 13th U-turn by this government. It comes after the family farm tax last month. Others too on the heating for pensioners in their homes. They couldn't get the benefits plan through last July. This is significant. Now, the government has said they were going to make it mandatory to get a job in Britain by 2029, the next election expected then. They said you need to have a digital ID card. That is not, well, for some people, that will be a physical ID card for those who are not on their mobile phones, but others it would be a form of digital